calm, cool, and collected. They had an issue with how Kamala Harris communicated. And as I'm listening to them, the tone and demeanor of the discussion last night was exactly what the American people want. They go back and forth, where they talk about where they stand, but there's still some complaints with our undecided voters that they're not specific enough about the future, that Kamala Harris spent too much time prosecuting the Trump administration, and Mike Pence spent too much time defending the Trump administration. They want to know exactly what they're going to do on jobs. They want to know exactly what they're going to do on taxes. And the number one question from them is what's going to happen with the Supreme Court. Will Joe Biden try to pack the Supreme Court? Mike Pence did an outstanding job making that an issue yesterday, and that is resonating in the minds of the American people today.
Frank, that kind of shocks me, the idea that the Supreme Court would resonate more with undecided voters. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me as much if these were hardcore voters who knew that this was going to be the issue that they were going for. But for undecided voters, I would have guessed that the biggest issue would have been the economy.
I agree with you, and I was very surprised. But if you notice what Pence did, they go through the questions, they go through the give and take. And this is the impact of a debate, that it's supposed to change people's minds. It's supposed to change their perspective, their outlook. And you can't give Mike credit for winning the debate. You have to give Kamala responsibility for losing it because of the tone, because of the demeanor. And I don't know if you have a clip of this, but the smirking and the reactions to it. It did not do well for Al Gore back in 2000, and it did not sit well with voters with Senator Harris in this debate.
Yeah, but voters probably looking a little bit more for a return to more presidential behavior, not liking some of those things. But let's show you a clip about what they did say about the economic recovery. When Vice President Pence was asked about that, he used the opportunity to go after the Biden campaign.
More taxes, more regulation, banning fracking, abolishing fossil fuel, crushing American energy, and economic surrender to China is a prescription for economic decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Frank, what did the panel say just about the responses to the economy and what they heard from each candidate?
The issue about the economy is that they don't think that is as good today as it was back in March. They are concerned about the jobs coming back, but they did not hear a plan from either candidate about what they're going to do to bring those jobs back. No details. I'm waiting for the candidates to look people straight in the eye, look the American people straight in the eye, and articulate step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, Mike Pence did a better job this debate than Donald Trump did a week ago in explaining and doing so in a presidential or vice presidential way, the approach that they have taken up to this point. But I want to be clear about this. Voters aren't looking backwards. They're looking ahead. We know what happened over the last 4 years. Now tell me what's going to happen over the next 4 weeks, 4 months, and 4 years.
Hey, Frank, question for you just about how voters think about the truth versus the presentation. I absolutely agree with you. The disposition and demeanor with which Senator Harris carried herself relative to Vice President Pence, Vice President Pence would clearly be the winner. Having said that, listening to the actual answers, listening to the answers of how they're answering questions, or rather in certain cases, not answering questions or answering questions with untruths, the question is, does what's actually coming out of their mouth matter?
Well, it matters, but Andrew, just as you and I can see each other, it's not just hearing what they have to say, it's watching them and how they say it. And if you are dismissive, if you reject, and I know this is a show about money, a show about finance, a show about the economy, but every time I do these focus groups with undecided voters, and they only represent 6% of America, almost everybody's made up their minds by this point, they're looking at the total candidate, not just where they stand on the issues. And they're not reading the Wall Street Journal. They're not reading the Financial Times. They're not reading The Economist. What they are doing is watching to see whether or not they can trust that individual. And Mike Pence did extraordinarily well in that. He never got agitated. He never got flustered. This is a complete difference from the first debate that our focus group thought that Joe Biden won because they thought, frankly, that Donald Trump was not acting presidential and was even abusive to the vice president. It's not just
Frank,
where you stand, it's also who you are.
You know, Frank, I would never say alternative facts. I know someone said that one time. I think it was Kellyanne Conway, alternative facts. But there are ways that you can take numbers and facts, and you're going to skew it to one side or the other. And hearing Senator Harris talk about the manufacturing issue, I mean, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder whether it's true or not, but our manufacturing sector was decimated for the last 20 years, whether it's NAFTA or whatever you want to talk, whether it's offshoring, whatever it was. But there was definitely some return of manufacturing jobs based on the way that the tax bill brought certain repatriation, brought things back. So, I mean, who's telling the truth? I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder which candidate is, and I see it all the time in the mainstream media. Oh, well, we don't need to fact check the left because they're not lying. We just need to fact check Trump because all he does is lie. And that perception is unfair. And both sides, I have some whoppers that I've seen. I didn't see the debate last night, but I saw Biden talk about manufacturing. It was false in my view. And you can rebut, Frank, but hurry up because it's coming. I can see it in the spy cam. Anyway, go ahead.
It's coming because it's responding to what the voters saw, because they saw the debate. And I go back to a Paul Simon wonderful line from a Simon and Garfunkel song. A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. We had people who were voting for Joe Biden when they walked into that room, when they walked into our Zoom, who left voting. They didn't change their minds, but they left believing that Mike Pence was more presidential. And it's not necessarily about the policy. It's about the presentation. It's about whether they look you straight in the eye. It's about whether you're rude. I cut you off just, but they would not have liked what I did right now. It is very clear that Mike Pence won that debate. This is exactly what happened in 2016. Donald Trump was losing. He lost his first debate. Mike Pence level set it, and then Trump came back. Donald Trump is down by a significant amount right now. Go ahead.
Here we go.
Frank, I don't disagree with you. I think that Vice President Mike Pence, as I said to you, if from a disposition perspective, if that's how you're looking at it, he looks you in the eye. He looks like he's telling you the truth. However, there's sort of what I'm worried about is there's a false equivalency going on, because he would say, dare I say, untruths, both about the Trump administration itself and also untruths about the Biden administration. That's not to say that Senator Harris did not skew some of the facts her direction at all, but there were things that were said that were just the opposite of true. And what I don't understand is how you think the public, especially those in the middle who are trying to come up with an answer, conceive or even think about that, or is it that they don't know what the truth is?
The answer is they may not know what the truth is, but they're not ideological like you guys are. They don't have these strong philosophical underpinnings. To them, the character of the individual. We asked this specific question: what was more important to you, honesty, integrity, and truth, or policies such as taxes and budgets and health care and COVID? And almost to a person, not unanimously, but almost to a person, the honesty and integrity was more important. And to their perception, somebody who's willing to listen to the responses, somebody who's willing to, in a calm, relaxed way, willing to explain where they stand, willing to take criticism and then explain why it's unjustified, that is the person they're looking to vote for. And remember, when you're watching a vice presidential debate, you have to judge not necessarily where they stand, but are they ready and capable to step in? These are two old candidates. Could these two individuals be the next president? And as they were judging them that way, they judged Vice President Pence better than Senator Harris.
Frank, are the left's, it just seems to me people think that the left's truths are just truer than the right's truths. I mean, they say it with a straight face. It's amazing to me, without any sense of irony or self-introspection at all. I mean, I'm flabbergasted when I hear it. It's like, it's almost just a well, wait a second. Where does that come from?
You guys are setting yourself up to a very contentious morning. I know that when I disappear, it's like I feel like I'm mom and dad, and I have to.
Oh my God! Anyway, let's go. Becky has another soundbite to turn into.
Actually, I had another quick question, Frank. I looked at your focus group. How did you choose them? How many people are they? Is it reflective of where the overall undecided voter is? And how accurate was this 4 years ago, listening to these types of focus groups?
So on the second debate, when I said on CBS News that Donald Trump is back in the race, I got challenged by, at the time, Charlie Rose, by Norah O'Donnell, Gayle King. I got challenged by the president of CBS. I even got a phone call from Les Moonves. Are you sure about that? Are you sure you're not giving advice? Trump had performed so well in that second debate that he'd come back into the race, and he was now credible again. I say the same thing about what happened tonight. These people, 15 individuals, all from swing states, all undecided voters, maybe 3 or 4 of them had a point of view. And in fact, if I were to go back at it again, I would have thrown a couple of them out because they truly weren't undecided. But from that segment of the population, 8 of them walked in with a narrow advantage for Donald Trump. 7 of them came in with a narrow advantage for Joe Biden. Virtually all of them, all but 2 of them, felt that Mike Pence won the debate. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that he did. And he did not because of what he talked about, but how he communicated.
Let's listen into what the candidates had to say about the issue of tax cuts as well.
The truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that.
Now, it's not just,
Frank, what do you think?
it wasn't just about the issue. And Pence challenged her, and the public believes that the Biden administration is going to raise taxes on people who make less than $400,000. But that wasn't what got people's attention when she said to him, I'm speaking, and she's got that smile. I will tell you that she was very well prepped in terms of the language that she used, very effective. But she was not well prepped and not well served in terms of how she presented. You saw her reaction, almost like a laughter. I'm speaking. You knew that that line, and she did it twice during the debate, that line had been rehearsed. For undecided voters, authenticity matters so much, and they did not find her authentic.
Hey, Frank, I think we do have a soundbite from the focus group, too, if we just want to play that to hear some of the things that they were telling you. Why don't we go ahead and listen in?
In one sentence, tell me about tonight's debate. And Laura, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I didn't really learn anything new. We already knew about Pence sort of coming in, and I didn't learn a whole lot about Kamala Harris tonight. A couple little questions that I would have liked to have heard answers to, namely the court was a big one for me.
Disappointed I still couldn't get some of the questions I've been looking for answered.
Felt like I was in an older election, like politics of yesteryear.
Concerned. I am concerned about what I'm going to do for the collective whole. I'm concerned.
I felt like it was a bust. The stuff that I wanted answers to, the questions were asked, but there were no answers, like the Supreme Court.
I have a feeling that that's our consensus, that you really wanted an answer from the California senator about that, but you didn't get it. In one sentence.
Hey, Frank, I think part of the issue is like feeling like you don't get the answers coming from the questions that have been asked. And I doubt that that's something that's unique to this debate. But has that grown in recent years? Is it more problematic, or is this just more of the same?
Well, you're correct to point that out. But what was skepticism is now cynicism, where they would be annoyed that they didn't get an answer. Now they just assume that the politicians don't answer them, and they assume that the politicians aren't telling them the truth. And that's why that authenticity, the integrity matters so much. This is not, for the last 26 days of the campaign, this is not going to be about who's going to raise your taxes. It's not going to be about the specifics in health care. Who cares about you? Who empathizes with you? Who understands you? To me, this is 2012 rather than 2016. It's going to be about who gets you, who understands your pain, rather than who can fix it.
Frank, I think that last bite we say, it's kind of an illustration of what we're talking about whether you cherry pick numbers. If you rescind the Trump tax cuts, there will be tax increases on people that make less than $400,000. Now, I don't think that the new taxes he's proposing are for people that make less than $400,000, but included in the Trump tax cuts, there were, maybe if he rescinds the Trump tax cuts, he just does the corporate tax or does, you know, maybe he puts in, you know, doesn't repeal the law en masse and you know, takes out certain things that would leave taxes the same on people that are below 400. But if you just purely rescind those tax cuts or repeal those tax cuts, it would raise taxes on people that make. So you can see how both sides are saying truths, but they're spun in a way that they can both claim to be true. Andrew, is that not true that
Joe,
they
I'll
would...
do you one better. I'll do you one better. One of the things that the Biden campaign has said is that they are going to raise the capital gains rate. Well, guess what? If you raise the capital gains rate, it doesn't matter whether you make $400,000 or not. That capital gains rate, for at least for some people, over the 20% threshold, is going to go up. So you know,
where's
if you
the
want to talk
truth?
about
It's like,
lies, put that in the lying category. And
that's what I mean.
just
So
so you
where's
see
the
that I'm
truth
apolitical on this.
Right. Yeah, but so where's the... that's all I'm saying. It's that they're not alternative facts, but there are ways of massaging the facts to your side of things where you almost can make a statement, like she just made the statement, no one under 400,000. Senator Harris, and that's, is it false? I mean, it's kind of true because he doesn't want new taxes, perhaps, but it's not really true if you consider capital gains or some of the other, I don't know. That's why none of us ever are going to run for office. It's just, you know, it takes a special person to go do that, I think.
Let me jump in because we got 2 more debates to go. The public is asking for specifics, and this is a lesson for Donald Trump, that they do not want his behavior in the first debate. All the polling showed a widening of Joe Biden's lead in the swing states, in the country. Number 2, Trump's negativity, the people who don't like him, actually increased, even though we know what he's all about because he's been president for a while. Number 3, as you show on the screen right now, the betting odds are going up for Joe Biden every single day. This is a wake-up call for the Trump campaign, that if you deliver a message the way Mike Pence delivered it, if you are straightforward, if you don't insult, if you challenge, as Mike Pence did, without being rude and offensive, you have the ability to capture the hearts and minds of those undecided. But if you behave in a way that doesn't allow people to even hear the messaging, even hear the responses, you will fail. For the 3 of you, last point. It was fascinating to me that Donald Trump, a week ago, did fine for the first 10 or 15 minutes. But as he went on, the resentment grew. That what works in the first 10 or 15 minutes of a debate does not work in the back hour, and the public expects to be able to hear what you have to say, and they will resent it if you keep them away from the information they are seeking, from the information that they deserve.
Frank, thank you for your analysis this morning. 1 point, Andrew. I just looked up the Biden tax plan. It would tax long-term capital gains and qualified dividends at the ordinary income tax rate of 39.6% on income above $1 million. So it wouldn't start at $400,000 or under $400,000. That's for income above $1 million. It also eliminates the step up in basis for capital gains tax action. I mean, this is what the Tax Foundation says. I just looked it up as we were talking about it. Just to clarify on that point, we should probably look it up in other places, but that's what the Tax Foundation says.
Thank you.